Okay, now for something completely different. You might already know what this is. This is Age of Empires 2. I just kind of got the feeling, saw some stuff, and wanted to play this again, and it's something I'd been meaning to do for a long time. It gives me an excuse to talk about a lot of things. This is a replay of me playing Age of Empires 2. I was playing online, and yeah, if I'm not actually playing, I can just talk over it, which will be very easygoing, and it'll give me an opportunity to talk about basically three things. One is Age of Empires itself, what I think of that. The other is RTS and strategy games. You know, I have a lot to say, I think a lot about that. And the third thing is games specifically as games. I've been writing and talking about that lately. Age of Empires 2 is a rare example of a game which actually does function as and is mainly played as just a game rather than a whole aesthetic experience. This thing is not experienced. This thing is not contesting with movies for your time. It's not competing. This thing is competing with chess for your time, or sports, I suppose. It's a game, and it's a game I very much like, so I'll get the replay rolling while I keep talking. You might be wondering, this looks a bit funny, what's this strange interface? Age of Empires 2 has this program called Capture Age associated with it, which is made for viewing replays with a few fancy tools that aren't in the regular game itself. That's what you're looking at here. It's something I download because I enjoy looking at replays of this game a lot. It's a good way to appreciate the nuance of it. It's about the only game I care to do that with, and I find watching my own replays very fun, and yeah, it's just a good tool for doing that, so I can just zoom out very far and do a few different things with Capture Age. Now, what's going on? I'm just saying good luck to this guy whose name we will shorten down to Mini. He's in the red, I'm in the green. I think your guys look nice in green in this game. It's a slow start, so it gives me plenty of time to talk. We're on a map called Nomad. The usual Age of Empires start you might know is three little people standing under a finished central structure to serve as the kind of middle of your town, and you build out from there. Nomad is interesting. You start with villages just kind of scattered in this big, very strange, random landscape, which looks more like... One moment, I actually do have to click on something real quick. Here is player view. Here's what the game looks like at the start. Each person you have can reveal a bit of the world and then actively show you what's going on within the bit they're in. But yeah, for convenience's sake, the game is very pretty when you light it up, this old engine. This is Age of Empires Definitive Edition, by the way. It's a bit of a visual update on the original, but not insanely so. I think it's actually... It doesn't have a select button back and forth like Halo, but you can look up pictures of this in the original Age of Empires 2. I think they actually translated the spirit quite well in a way which still works better for higher resolutions, slightly fancier animations and so on, and they didn't really change much. It's just basically a usability update and a few other things. This game is one of the few things Microsoft do a good job of just supporting. Then there's what they did with Age of Empires 4, that's a whole other subject. I get ahead of myself. Now, this game I really enjoy. I had Age of Empires 1 on the computer as a kid, I got into 2 as an adult, and strangely, it's a game I got into more as a game than as a, the typical kind of Anthony total aesthetic experience thing. I came across videos of Age of Empires 2 by chance on YouTube being played as a game, and I thought that it fascinated me. It just looked cool in a way that things like StarCraft don't. I think it's a more elegant game. It's just the dynamics are less spazzy, basically. StarCraft feels too much like an action game, where it's largely about reactions and just knowing what to do in like very small scale moments and basically quick reaction action game kind of things, but at scale, which just to me defeats the purpose of both. It doesn't feel visceral or like a feat of coordination to click across like 12 nodes to make them behave a certain way, and it doesn't convey like what's cool about a guy with a gun. It's just lame. I hope you understand what I mean. That I feel like this game is bigger, slower, and has more room for meta decision making. I'm sure someone who knows StarCraft is getting mad at me right now. I can't tell you why, it's the impression I get looking at both games that this is the elegant, slow thinking game, while StarCraft is a kind of mutant action game. You play with your mouse and you click things. It just seems dumb. But this game, yeah, if you really don't know what Age of Empires is, I should probably explain. It's pretty simple though, you probably know the broad gist even if you've never played RTS. It's a game where you have... the premise is medieval war stuff, and you have economy and military, which is to say I have my little industrious peons here who do various jobs, and they pile up resources which I then crash into more things, and I expand this little, what's called a town center, into more people and more stuff as we build up houses and infrastructure. And that grows into the ability to build and support an army, and I have to do this plate spinning balancing act between, you know, constantly powering up this economy and eventually building up forces to fight his one and his people. But right now we're in that nice slow early phase where we're just building up our people. In the more regular game, which isn't Nomad, we would start with one man on a horse whose job is to kind of look around and potentially fight the other guy, but still, even with that, it's a slow start, and Nomad can have some very bizarre openings, but this is a very slow and relaxed one, so I thought it would be particularly good to show off. So, 3 subjects: RTS, Age of Empires, and games as games. As I said, this is pretty much the only game I'll play as a game. Like, I'll play a bit of Escape from Tarkov now and then online, and that's, you could say, a competitive game, but to me it isn't. It's more like I play it like something between Stalker and Pikmin and a couple of other things. The shooting game which I would play as a game is PUBG occasionally. I think that game is actually, in a strange way, it's swung around to being underrated, just as a kind of weird competitive exercise I can do online with other people. I think it's actually quite elegantly put together to do that. It's a very pure experience. Tarkov, you can have some weird, interesting, compelling, uneven, asymmetric, competitive moments with other people, but they're not what I'm there for, and as a platform for those kinds of experience, there's just too much other stuff going on for me to endorse it on those grounds. If you want a game, if you want some kind of mutually respected, contrived challenge to compete against people with, I'm not going to point you to Tarkov. I'm going to point you to Tarkov if you want really good virtual guns and this kind of like weird Russia cool setting. That's the appeal of it to me. The like weird Nikita Boyanov music and taste. But yeah, if you want something that's actually a game and you like this kind of broad strategy framing, I do actually recommend Age of Empires 2. I think it's really cool. You can just flip through this video and watch me actually playing the game once we fire up more, and if it looks interesting, I think it would be cool if, yeah, some people tried it. It is a very nice game, I think. Here is me playing inefficiently, not telling those guys to get back to work. There they go. You may have noticed, saw the very edge of this guy's stuff over here and thought, oh god, is he in that corner? Or maybe I can win quick if I seal him in. That's the kind of weird opportunity you can get when playing Nomad, but of course, a habit I always have in anything which involves fog of war and uncertainty. I overestimate what I'm up against. He had a he had 2 houses and a dock on the other side of these little like Berlin Wall things I made. But, you know, I thought maybe his base is there, maybe he's about to like swarm out of there and rush me, so I built up defenses. And that was just a waste because he's, of course, as you can see now, we can all see in retrospect, he's over here. And yeah, if we look at how much I'd explored at this point, I've been very conservative. I just know my little corner. I've looked around a bit for some more stuff, but yeah. It's very important to gather stuff in Age of Empires, and I'm kind of in a bad spot, kind of in a good spot. My corner is safe, but I lack for gold and stone. Stone makes castles and towers, which are, important static defenses and military structures, and gold makes basically all of your good military units. You can make the bad ones with wood and food. Food comes from farms, which I'll build later, and animals which you can hunt or tame, which I'm dealing with now. And our red buddy Minnie had some odd idea to build a kind of forward outpost to mess with me here. He had seen my base because his villager walked through before. And yeah, in the event of that, I built 2 very early crude infantrymen to go clobber his villagers if they came to try something. And yeah, get blocked, lady. I don't know if I did that on purpose, but I have realized I'm in a precarious situation, so I'm doing something you can do in a game which runs on strange fog of war like Age of Empires. I can't see much, he can't see much, so I've just thought, where is some gold that's somewhere? It doesn't really matter where, just out of the way. And yeah, I'm building a mine right here to gather this gold, which is actually quite close to his base, but if you look at his game view, he can't see that. He can see his base, this area where he's got some boats, and yeah, it's very much... You have this interesting intelligence dynamic going on in Age of Empires where it's very easy to forget how little you can see or know. It's very easy for things to fall out of your mind, and even harder to conceptualize. You have to kind of, well, you don't have to, but it's good if you can. You can keep in mind what could be falling out of their mind. That is something I learned at some point while playing. It just stuck in my mind that people are actually, your workers are often very safe if you just drop them in a random spot with no protection where he has no reason to look anytime soon. And you might think, well, Anthony, that's like a 10-second walk from his town. Won't he look there? Well, watch this game and see. And there's my guy hitting him. If I had all of the sounds turned on for this, it's like the base game. There is a sound which plays every time units initiate fighting, which would very quickly drive you insane, and also the sound of units being made. I turned most of them off. If I zoom in, I think you can hear them chopping wood, but I won't subject you to that all video, just saying I turned off a lot of the fun, soulful sounds, and uh-oh, stuff is happening. Look, he's got ships approaching where mine are, and that thing I didn't fully clear up, he's got a better infantryman with a shield and sword, and these 2 men on horses who are scout cavalry, the lowest tier of food-costing horsemen. Now, he's crashing more money into soldiers than I am right now, which means he is not building up his economy as much, but, you know, it means that he can now play this game of probing into my base and messing with me, which he can't break through because villagers can defend themselves in the town center, but he can just mess with my ability to work efficiently. We look at the base, my only guys outside the base are in that gold spot there, while he is being much more aggressive. You could say he is in my base properly, but I'm just kind of quarantining this area. I'm going to lose people. Well played to him. He has actually got me a bit frazzled here, but I'm not totally helpless. I did defend myself. Is that guy gonna make it back? No, nice try. But yes, you can see nice features of this, kills and deaths through capture age, just in the corner here. 3 economy kills to my 2, and that's going to get much worse because he sent a warship to attack my fishing swarm, who moved up here for whatever reason. Yes, I should say, I'm playing as Italians, he is Burgundians. Italians have... one of their advantages is various naval bonuses. One is cheap fishing ships, so I didn't build farms right away. Instead, I had everyone chop wood, turn the wood into fishing ships, and had them kill all of the fish off the coast of my base. He's going to attack them now, but my thinking is, okay, I got pretty good value. I'm chopping lots of wood here, so yeah, I'll get some stuff to defend them, but I'm not too fussed. I'm trying to transition the economy shortly. I won't fish forever, and there's other stuff I can be doing. But yeah, this isn't meant to really be a game video. I'm not a pro of Age of Empires 2. There are people who commentate games, some of them are entertaining. There's a very good series called Low Elo Legends by a guy called T90, where he commentates low-level games rather than high-level ones where interesting things happen, and explains them in a way where you don't really need to know the game to know what's happening. And that's a very interesting, compelling dynamic, low-level games, what that looks like, because high-level players, they're often very creative and spontaneous, but they do things you can't really understand. You need to know the game really well to understand the nuance of high-level play, and yeah, at low level, no one knows what they're doing enough to even be boring, and that's kind of where me and this guy are at. We're Elo 900 each, which places us around, yeah, below average, I would probably say. I don't consider myself good at this game. I understand that I need to keep making villages and not much else. Speaking of, that's actually a tracked statistic. Idle town center time, that's where you make your villages, mousing over that there. You can see that he has a lot more idle town center than me. Maybe he was saving stuff to go castle age, he's doing that before me. That's your tech jump, that means that he can build more things, and generally just have more advanced and stronger stuff than me and hurt me. Oh wait, but I castle aged first, that's right. I'm actually building a castle, my mistake. But yes, as you can see, we had a kind of scrap down here, which was very awkward. He pressured me a bit, but what it looks like happened is he was basically... I'll pause for a moment so I can think. I think he was so focused on trying to harass me with his 2 horses and infantrymen that I lost some efficiency in having to respond, but because everything I was dealing with was in this corner, I was basically on top of making villages, on top of reassigning the economy, building things, and so on. While his base is up here, and he's constantly scrolling down here. Look at his idle time. He was lower than me, now he's higher. I think what happened was he just started to neglect his base because it was so much effort to, like, poke at me with these 2 horsemen, so it probably wasn't worth it, which is an interesting dynamic. That's something a lot of people complain about in strategy games, how much attention you need to clicking and splitting your mind, but I think because the demands aren't really obscene and there's kind of a ceiling on how much benefit you can have in the moment by precise clicking, it's really more like a awareness thing. You need to just have things in mind and not get overwhelmed and flustered. That's kind of the skill that you develop and draw on. And I'm just looking back at myself. I can see I'm not doing too bad. I can see a kind of reason in everything that I'm doing for the most part. I built this, which is very good because in addition to being a thing which shoots arrows and will cover my base if he tries to push properly into it, it's a very conservative defensive spot I put it, but the unit you can make out of a castle, every nation it's different and there are a lot. This is quite cool. The nations are all at least a bit different. They have things like, oh, one can get cheaper ships, one gets cheaper arrows, whatever. You also have a special unit you only make in your castle, and for me, as the Italians, that's my Genoese crossbowman. And so it's really the theme of the Italians as well, that their bonuses are weak near the start and they get stronger as you go. It's kind of Renaissance themed. I was really just in stay alive mode until I get to castle age and I get my castle up, because now I have a very strong, diverse unit that can basically handle anything he could throw at me, the Genoese crossbow. As you can see, he's a crossbow, he can shoot over walls and kill these poor villagers who are trying to build a castle to basically shoot into my base and win the game. But yeah, I got my castle up first in a safe spot where he couldn't disrupt the construction, and now I have this Genoese crossbowman who, in addition to being able to just shoot from a distance, his bonus, which isn't listed on his thing here, is he gets bonus damage against horse units, which means he has all the strengths of a regular archer, slightly weaker on a couple. He has more health but less range. And his bonus against cavalry means that he is just basically way better. He can actively kill horses rather than being kind of evenly matched if he's careful against them. I now have basically counter at least a little bit most things with just these crossbowmen with their nice shields and a little bit of protection. I'm just much stronger militarily than I was before, basically reacting and trying to seal myself in. It's interesting, that's very me how I play this game. I'm not very assertive. I panic and fluster myself if I try to play aggressively. Of course, I overestimate people. The game's elo matching is very good. He was 898, I was 899. We're practically neck and neck, so it's something that's hard to conceptualize, but it's generally true that, like, because of elo matching, anything that would, like, upset or be difficult for you, it's true of the other guy as well. So if I just sent a very uncoordinated raid, perhaps like this, to him, he is probably feeling absolutely miserable and has no idea what to do. Like me, he has trouble putting walls up in his base. You can wall up very effectively and make it very hard to raid you, but this guy didn't. I kind of walled, just like built my houses in lines and built in a corner like an idiot away from everything, but look what I just did there by walking across the top. I was not doing any high-level maneuvers there. I just basically walked across and told them to shoot anything they saw, and look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for like one spearman escort. Look at the economic kill death. He's winning because he sank all my fishing ships. I've got a few which ran away down to here. But yeah, this has been a very chaotic game. He is still killing me in the score, largely because he's researching things and I'm not, but yeah, on the score, he's probably still confident, thinking, okay, his base must be in disarray and so on. And it kind of is, but yeah, I'm clawing things back. I really just mauled his economy, 32 villages to 20. I've got some idle town center building here because I'm distracted trying to keep these guys from dying. But also, I built a second town center, which you can do Castle Age onwards, which means I can now, if I really want to, and if I focus and get on it, I will eventually. I can double pump villages and build them at a crazy rate. He has one town center rebuilding 3. I have none building none because I suck. But this is now a second source of gold for me, and when it occurs to me again, I think it will eventually, I can then just pump more villages onto that and get lots of stuff. And down here, you may have noticed, he tried again to build the castle because I didn't destroy its foundations, and yeah, that ended up being a heavy horseman dead and more villagers. And yeah, those heavy horsemen, they are very scary, but you won't know that from this game just because Genoese crossbowmen, only anti-horse crossbows in the game. And yeah, that creates a very weird dynamic. The Italians are a very weird civilization. That's what the teams or factions, whatever, are called in this game. They have the very pretty, nice, white stone southern European building set. Spain, Portuguese, and a couple of others also have buildings like this. And the Italians have one of the weirdest land army dynamics in the game because of the Genoese crossbow and a few other quirks they have. It's very, like, they did a very effective job. Like, every nation is like 90% the same parts, but weird incentives they can put through the tech tree and so on make it so each one tends to build up very differently and do very different things. Italy, you go for the kind of Renaissance army of Pavese crossbowmen, and later on I'll be getting gunpowder and some fancy horse guys to guard them. While this guy is Burgundians, he is all about heavy horses, and he has a specialist knight who he will be bringing out later to try to beat me up, and a few other decent ideas that don't quite work out. And I told you these guys would be alright. That's the intelligence game of Age of Empires for you, the just reading the other guy's mind. It occurred to me he might not think to look there, and look, line from his base to my base, he's just not going there. That's a very fun thing to do when you just kind of successfully gauge the odds of someone doing something. And yeah, there could be a bit of that with him. Like, I haven't touched his fishing boats, so he's free to get them, good on him, but Yeah, look what I've done down here as well. I sent one injured villager down here. He built a dock, now he's fishing with the fishing boats, and that's just me getting some more value out of the 5 ships that survived his rampage earlier. And do you think he's ever going to look in this corner for fishing boats? That's the kind of fun thing you get out of strategy games, specifically the RTS form that you don't get out of others. It's very much... I don't know to what extent it's just... to what extent it was thought out to be played as a game, to what extent they thought they were facilitating a kind of cool cinematic experience. I may have said at some point in relation to something else, probably it was an old forum post I wrote on RTS. The tutorial campaign, the first thing you're meant to play for Age of Empires 2 is based on William Wallace in Scotland, because Braveheart was new and on people's minds when this game came out, when it was being made. So that was the movie experience they wanted you to have. This is kind of, among other things, this game can facilitate Braveheart simulation adequately, but at the same time, it's quite elegant as a game. As I say in various contexts, anything people can compete in can develop a meta, but I will say that Age of Empires 2 I think feels particularly good to compete in. Just pretty much all of its quirks lend themselves well to this kind of abstract, kind of macro strategy mind game competition, the way that like weird particular resources need to be contested, secured, and fought over in this randomly generated little world we've got here. And I really always loved the way Age of Empires 1 generates maps. I hate the like default StarCraft maps where it's like a static League of Legends world template of like, okay, obviously your base goes here and here and here, they're your expansions and so on. No, Age of Empires 1, Age of Empires in general, it has rules to keep things competitive, like you're meant to, especially when you're on anything but Nomad, it's like your base goes in one spot and you will always have gold within a certain amount of tiles of your thing. You will always have roughly an equal amount of trees with a good amount of variation. It's kind of chaotic even then, but it generates something more like a world, and there is a lot more leeway where like you can get unfair or like weirdly unbalanced, strange dynamic forming different things. And why I think Nomad is extra fun is its rules are so loose. Like, you can kind of see, especially if I go mode resource, that it's very uneven, the distribution of gold. I'm here, he's here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gold patches. And if you basically divide things down the middle like this, basically all of the gold is on his side. I have 1 here, which he still kind of made unsafe by building over here. And then the other golds, they're mostly on his side, but just because of the weird back and forth dynamics of how this game played out, I ended up taking this one and this one basically right in his face, and I'm going to, that's another relatively safe one for me, and that would be if I weren't an idiot. But yeah, this game developed in a weird way largely because of just strange chaotic factors like where did the gold get generated. And yeah, this was unsafe. He had all those buildings here, but look at me go. I've cleaned them up, and now I've got this nice stack of 27 Genoese crossbows, 18 pikes, and 2 leftover men-at-arms. And you can see the total armies on each side up here. Capture rate is very nice. Total research, I'm falling behind because I'm distracted. And kills and deaths, army value, how much of the value is gold, which is basically a proxy for how much of your army is power units as opposed to junk. And yeah, my army is worth twice as much as his. I'm thinking maybe I can end this if I just roll in, but if we go to my point of view, oh god, I just saw his giant castle there. And that thing is just going to, how it works is it will just shred with ranged fire, and infantry don't stand much of a chance against it. You need special weaponry to deal with a castle, or you need to find a way around it. And I've decided, okay, we're going to take a minute while I panic and think of what to do. I'm not actively being attacked this moment. I feel pretty good about this game as it's going on. I'm not getting blown up or torn to pieces by this guy. He put some pressure on, but didn't really know how to turn that into a killing blow, so he just kind of poked around, kept me on my toes, but yeah, I just built up under the pressure, and now I'm just able to pool strength and poke at his random remaining leftover outlier bits. I've still got my silly little fishing ships there, and you need to constantly build houses to raise your total amount of guys you're allowed to have. And that's just a job for this guy down here, because again, these houses are safe. Is he ever going to look down here? No. And these gold miners, are they safe? Maybe not. Go, Genoese crossbow man, you can do it. Where's my army, by the way? They're over here. What have I decided I'm going to do with them? I don't know. But we got pushed off the gold by his castle finishing, but those villagers can go get stone, which I can put to some kind of creative use later. And he's not going to threaten the nice little farms I have set up there, which are just constantly funneling food into my operation, which I've already put towards going Imperial Age. That's another good... Whoops, rip those guys. That's another nice Italian bonus. Teching up is cheaper, which is a reason why I'm able to get to Imperial Age first, which will help me in a few key ways. He's selling stuff now at his market. I may have done a bit of that too earlier to get my castle up. He must be trying to get wood for, yeah, gold for, yeah, he's going Imperial as well. Now, these guys, 8 paladins, no, not paladins, cavaliers, they are pretty hardcore units, just, yeah, he's run into the corner of my base, realized that, now he's trying to move in, but Genoese crossbows against even very good heavy cavalry. Look at how this exchange is going to go. The pikes will help, but they aren't really doing the heavy lifting here. I lost a couple of little crossbow guys who cost a bit, but aren't super expensive. These guys cost more, and they lost more, so army value, if you just left arrow back to look what they were before that fight and after, that's how you can assess the trade, who was doing better in that fight. I think I did better. He's got the KD barely for total military, but when you consider the value of them, I think I'm doing better by this point, and he just finished this in time, but he doesn't have enough villages inside to put up a good defense. Each one is a bit more power for a town center, that's how it works. A lot of villagers in a town center will fight very strongly, just a few, no good, so he finished it, and he's just gonna watch it burn now. Because I was coming down to do the same thing, claim the stone and the gold, because that's just a nice spot. Maybe I would have put my first thing there if I weren't an idiot. Instead I went for the corner. But yeah, I've decided to start getting gold. Mr. Pig says hello. I like the nature as well. Again, it's just, like, in addition to being a part of the game and interesting, like the wild animals don't follow you, you have to corral them, and, you know, things like boars will fight you. In addition to that, it just sells a bit more the idea that this is actually a nice natural world and scenario we're watching, even if that isn't the appeal, and I do play this game as a game. And that brings something to mind. I play the game on a balance, and you can't actually see in here. I play the game a bit in a balance where I do like the scenario, but I'm primarily in it for the game. You can't see in Capture Age, but in my base game I actually have mods which make it look visually more chaotic and nicer, in my opinion. I have ones which make the dead bodies stay longer so the battlefields look more messed up, and ones which add blood to the dead units as an effect, which I just think makes it look much more dramatic and exciting in action. Yeah, that's like the opposite of what the meta mods do, which is the popular mods for playing the game competitively are small trees, which I think is even on in this, just the sprites for the trees are smaller so you can actually see what's going on at the edge of tree lines. And the other ones, though, people do things like overlay a grid, which I think is fair enough. There are people who get these lines put on in-game to show ranges, which is maybe fair. And then it gets extreme. I want you to Google something, open a Google image tab and look up Age of Cube. There is a mod some lunatic made for this game, which, if I highlight this, you can see that, like, this is, in the game's logic, a square, even if it looks like a natural formation. And like the clumps of trees are actually squares. Some lunatic made some sprite replacement mod for this game where every tree is just a green cube, stones, grey cubes, and so on, so that he could perfectly read the environment. It's absolutely psychotic, but it just goes to show how seriously some people are about thinking of Age of Empires 2 as purely a contrived challenge to fight in, and they have no real interest in the kind of medieval battle simulation movie scene director experience. And yeah, because I play this primarily as a game, I don't hold that against them. Age of Empires has very nice secondary characteristics, but it does not live on them. They are not the redeeming element in this case. In things like the campaigns, which is like the other game that Age of Empires is, it very much lives on those. Like the old Age of Empires had nice voice acting and stuff, and it's just very pretty with its old sprites. Oh, and here we go, here's his second heavy cavalier unit, the Custalier, who is the special Burgundian unit. And he also mixed in some scorpions, so I'm actually backing off. Those are a bit scary. So this is an interesting dynamic he's created where his heavy horse will basically get countered by the pikes and the Genoese. He's being a bit inflexible there, but the siege units he's bringing in are very good. He is thinking, okay, how do I clean up lots of massed infantry? All these guys I've got need to fight in big clumps, so area of effect weapons like those are devastating me. They didn't kill too many, but everyone is badly injured. This is chaotic. I want you to look closely here. This is me, high point of the game for me, where it's like do or die here. This is the closest I come to like a moment of ingenious micro. Run, shoot, run, shoot, run, shoot. Look, I'm kiting him. I have enough Genoese still that one volley is basically enough to kill one unit, so I just run, focus one unit, run, focus one unit, and yeah, just look back at this trail of my fighting retreat. His scorpions really did like half of the total health of the Genoese crossbows, but as we run, just turn and shoot a horseman each time we go, and yeah, we're just dropping men as we go, but he is losing all of these precious, valuable horses. And yeah, look at our army values. I'm still a bit ahead. He lost a lot chasing me. And yeah, that thing can absolutely devastate the Mangonel, but look at what's going on. It gets chaotic. His men have nothing to do, so they start attacking a building instead of units. They're in range of my increasingly powerful Genoese. You can see their arrows are on fire because I got some university upgrades. I'm getting to the end of my tech tree because I'm Italians. And yeah, just look at this chaotic goddamn mess this scenario becomes. Look at the value of his army, 360 to my 1200. Both of us lost practically everything. I say on the edge there. Woo! Both of us lost almost everything. I have a bit left, and yeah, I think he's in a lot more strife than me. I have enough units to potentially go poke him, but he has castles, so I think, okay, I'll just rebuild, and I'll be able to rebuild quicker because I have a base to start on. And yeah, I think that's not a wrong decision. He is out of both castles because that's where your special unit lives, just cranking out Custaliers again. And if you ask me, that's maybe not his smartest move. I think this guy's weakness is a pretty common one. It's largely mine as well. He knows what his nation's thing is, and he wants to make that. Like, I just make Genoese crossbowmen. I think I'm Italian. That's my niche. I make these guys. And he's thinking I'm Burgundian, so I make Custaliers, but yeah, Genoese basically counter Custaliers, so he should, yeah, lean more into the siege, which he is. He's making 4 of them. That's a good idea, but yeah, I think if he had basically made the siege the center of his army and made a few, like, different things to back them up rather than just heavy cavalry, he might have had a better matchup against my Yeah, what I'm rebuilding again is a Genoese crossbow-based army. They're my main unit. Just look at this goddamn mess. All of those dead horses. And yeah, I lost a lot of pikes over here, but those are so cheap. They cost wood and food. I really don't care about them. He can kill 200 of my pikemen. I really don't care. Oh, sorry, I had that on the weird thing. There's the helpful minimap again. Castle, town centers, all kinds of stuff. As you can see, my economy is just powering up. I've got 85 men to his 76 working. One guy down there ready to receive help later. Stone and gold up here. I didn't take back much water, but I kept those ships going. And up here we've got a few of them, and we mined a bunch of stone and sent the stone miners to build that. That is the state of the game. Do you appreciate all the different dynamics that are going on and why this is just simple fun to me? It's fun to mentally match someone on even terms that we both accept. You may have heard me say in various contexts, that's my attempt at defining a game, a contrived challenge which you agree to respect and take seriously. And yeah, that's what this game is. That's Age of Empires. It's a very deliberate and well thought out and well understood at this point set of limitations and things you can do and room to mess around. We both have basically the same constraints and options, and we try to compete within those. That's what a game is, and I find that very fun. And yeah, I don't find that in the abstract fun every time. Not every game is fun to me, and I don't really want to game all day every day, but now and then this is a moment where you are experiencing me genuinely just in the mood to game as gaming, not as like gaming as a supporting element of some greater media experience. When I play Halo, I'm not really gaming. I respect the challenge which is at the heart of Halo on that level of overcoming what's in front of me. And in multiplayer, I get that that's there too, but like the fact I don't play multiplayer, I guess goes to show how little I care, but yeah, Halo to me is an experience more comparable to a novel or a movie than other games, and Age of Empires 2 is not that. It could be if I were playing the campaign, but, you know, the single player, but as it is right now, it's more like I'm playing chess with this guy. We are both thinking in the abstract, we are visualizing Age of Cube. This is not a medieval war, this is a game laid out of digital parts, me and him trying to balance our virtual stocks of stuff and get one over each other. And as you can see, his castle went down, but I'm not really bothered if I build one. Oh, and he is trying to bear down on me up there as well. He's actually, at this point, looking at the scores and stuff, the army values, you might think he's swung it around. We'll see what I've got up my sleeve. I don't even honestly remember perfectly. Just look at the lay of the game right now, and you can think, if you're paying attention to the dynamics, if you know what Age of Empires 2 is, you can think this out and think, okay, what does Anthony do here? What is the intelligent play? I am looking at all of this stuff. I've got a thing being knocked down by a long-range building destroyer unit, the Trebuchet over there. He has more set up there where he took out my castle. I have a good amount of units. They're not particularly strong, but there's a lot of them. And I've got my first Italian specialty rolling out. Oh, wait, no, I had one before shooting at those. There he is over there. I've got these coming out now on a production line. The Bombard Cannon, which is basically one of these, but you can move it quicker and kind of hit and run with it more. But the trade-off is it's very slow and the guy pushing it is vulnerable. Interesting dynamic. What can I do with all of these parts? That's very much the thing. Halo is... not Halo. Well, yeah, Halo I'm thinking just like taking it in as a collection of artisan media pieces which people made and assembled towards a certain point in vision. Age of Empires 2 is, by contrast, something I view as the game. And yeah, this is something you could do forever, much like chess, and honestly, I don't really hate games as games when it's this pure that much. I hate games as an impure element. Oh, by the way, I started building Light Cav, another thing the Italians can do quite well. They have pretty much, I think they have every single upgrade available for light cavalry. That's another way that you kind of influence the dynamics within each nation. They can't get every upgrade for everything, but Italians can fully upgrade light cavalry, so it's well incentivized. I started doing that, and here's their first job, kind of react to this guy. And yeah, here's a bit of a fight going on, and I've got these guys coming up, and looks like I may have successfully pulled him into another fight with my Genoese, but he's learning, he is trying to run away. But now he's potentially got a problem. He didn't really open up anything he could exploit down here by knocking down that castle. By building it there, I basically just created a front line, which if I lost, it wouldn't matter, whereas like, if I waited for him to push into my base, I might be in trouble. And yeah, now I can just push him because what did he win by knocking down that castle? Now he can like, yeah, he can have his scorpions fire at my stone miners. Yeah, do you think I mind? I have 1,300 stone. This isn't a stone war. And I, meanwhile, have just completely disengaged from that side, gone up here to protect my more vulnerable end of my economy and some other stuff, and also just, I can just decide, screw it, I'm just going to make this the new front and just push him, and what's he gonna do? His army gets countered by mine up here, his siege weapons are too far away to... You know, he could chop through this massive ball of infantry with siege weapons if they were in the right spot, but they're not. And here is the power of Genoese and the Italian kind of master plan late game coming together, which is you sit Genoese crossbows on top of cannons, and yeah, that's basically just very, very bad news. The cannons are made to chop down other siege engines and also just be very strong. They outrange the castle, so you can see I'm just hammering this thing down. Bang, bang, 2 cannons going, a third one on its way. Now, if he was sharp, he might think, okay, how do I harass with these? He is trying to, like... This is the smart reaction in Age of Empires 2. What do you do when a guy is going into your base? Go to his base, split his attention, force him to either go home or start losing stuff. But because I'm an idiot, I have units just idle in various places, which means this cannon can actually start fighting back and defending my miners. And at the same time, I've just got an excess of units. He has some, I have way more. I have light cav waiting for deployment, cannons moving to the front, Genoese who are just around to respond. I'm going to call them strategic reserves, I didn't forget them. But anyway, look at this, just... Look at Idiot Anthony gets a couple of Genoese killed on the very edge of the castle's range. But I'm chopping down gold miners, so it's not a total loss, and the castle is in serious trouble. His last Coustelier, I just dropped 15 villagers in there, so they're just chopping him down. Down that goes. Cannon can keep moving up, and castle's down. He is in very serious trouble now. Also, I've got a cannon knocking his houses down. Those houses were his wall, which means light cavalry are now in his base. And these guys are moving around to join them. And again, I just think, okay, he wants to attack them. I just run away and either, you know, he doesn't follow, so the light cav just get away and I can redeploy them. Or he follows them to fight them. These guys will shred light cavalry because they're heavy. But I can just keep these guys waiting to respond, and they will just chop them up as they move in to try to chase the light cav. And now he's just thinking, what do I do? He tries to suicide into my line to get some value. And he doesn't even take out the one cannon. And here he is, though. He's got the right idea again, which is siege engines. Again, loads of damage, but didn't kill them. That's the other real strength of Genoese crossbows. They have more health than regular crossbowmen, so like they can survive a hit from a siege engine. The second one goes down to the light cav who I got in his base, and as you can see, this situation is deteriorating very quickly for this guy. Aren't I good at this? Total vanity video. I didn't even want to talk about real-time strategy, I just wanted to show you how good I am. And he says, Minnie's like, yeah man, gotta go. Fair enough, mate. This was pretty fun. Very good game, and yeah, as you can see, this is a nice thing we get shown with Capture Age. I am victorious. Nice little thing that drops down. And what did we create the most of each? We both made our special unit the most because we are both 900 elo scrubs who are one-track minded for our specialty. He made 40 elite Coustiliers, I made 87 Genoese crossbows. And yes, they also have an elite rank you can upgrade to, but I just didn't end up doing that. They were doing just fine on as they were, weren't they? Final kill-death ratio, he actually wins militarily because, he's just strong. He's got the stronger units, even if I ultimately won. Eco KD, he also actually did really well there and clobbered my economy a few times, killed all those fishing ships. But just that's kind of the Italian thing. They create an interesting dynamic of playing with specialized counter units who need to be massed and deployed very carefully. I actually learned today, and the thing that reminded me of this, that someone made a video assessing their strength as a nation within Age of Empires. They're actually the lowest ranked by win rate land civilization in the game, like on the open, just free-for-all maps where there's no weird water stuff going on wherever. They have the lowest win rate. But I think they demand a very interesting play style, which was basically what this was. I didn't really leverage water very much. You have to just build your anti-horse archers and back them up with cannons, run light cavalry around them to just kind of lure them into the wrong kinds of fights, and that's how you play Italians. You can see his base is just torn to pieces over here, while my side of things, it's pretty clean. Some guys got chopped up down here. It was a bit nasty. How'd we end up at the end? He has 64 villages left. I have 77, but if we zoom out and look at where they all are, you can see my villages are mostly safe and working unmolested, while his are all basically cowering in the castles and town centers trying not to die. He has a few working out here. Whereas mine are, a lot of them are just cutting wood, they're mining stone. We're doing pretty good on the whole. He says gotta go. Maybe he was a bit distracted towards the end, I don't know, but I really don't think there was a recovery from here. I was just going to walk the cannons through the base and just dismantle all of this in another few minutes. I think that was fair enough. He almost had me a few times. If he just, I think, integrated some siege a bit better, he could have, a couple of good siege shots, like this giant formation I've got here of 16 and 14, 30 units. A couple more good siege shots could have basically cleaned these guys up, and then he could have run some Coustiliers up to kill the cannons, and then I would have been in trouble. Then we'd have a game again, but he was just kind of split. He didn't quite know how to exploit the openness of over here. These guys were just in the wrong spot. Maybe they would have made the difference if they were up here, but they were just kind of milling around. I just ignored that, swung around, got him. But as I was saying, games as games don't really piss me off. It's the impurity which pisses me off, if you understand. Basically, things which could be carried by their secondary characteristics, which just have the game getting in the way, or works which are basically pointless, where the game is considered kind of a self-justifying point, but it's not very compelling. And because of that, the secondary elements are also not compelling, and you're left with something which just makes me say, okay, what the hell was the point? Go-to example of that is a Naughty Dog game, or a Far Cry game, an Ubisoft thing, where it's they take a stock game form where you jump around and fire a gun or whatever, and they think, okay, that's enough, and then we put a bunch of whatever's popular with the kids these days on top. You take Far Cry 3, you set it on an island, you take Jack 2 and it's in the edgy city, and ultimately you get something that's pointless. And if they didn't think the central game was a justification, maybe they would have tried a bit harder. Anyway, let's look at some stats before we quit this, because it's just fun to have this open. And if you guys like this, I could just talk over a game again more generally. Talking over Age of Empires 2 is fun, I think. But Capture Age has these nice charts. What is this at the moment? Percentage of current. This is the master population thing here, economy and military population over time. We have lots of very nice graphs. We're going to look at the graphs for a minute now. If that doesn't interest you, just leave the video. This is just going to be me having a little vanity moment showing you how goddamn good I am at video games. You can see our villager population here. Villagers are economy population. And then there's your military. I pull ahead because I built my thing first, then I forget to build because I'm an idiot. He pulls ahead. And then we're basically even over time, you can see, and yeah, I get the military going slightly quicker. I have slightly more population share. Then I lose all of those fishing boats. Those are also economy population. God, I go from 51 to 33. That's horrific. So that's his big early victory. We just freely give him that one. Good job, Mini-Man. You really had me going there for a minute. Those fishing ships could have generated a lot more value, but he killed them. And yeah, I Castle Age before him. And yeah, you can see though, just overall, here is dead middle, and for most of the game, I have significantly more. He has slightly more as he hits Castle Age, the peak of killing my fishing ships right here, but yeah, we keep that in line with the left to see the middle. I just have a lot more stuff, and you can see that the thickness of my economy line, this whole bit isn't too big. Where I really have an edge is that my military population is goddamn huge. What you can't see in that is that his is more valuable because he's making knights, but yeah, well, we saw what those knights were ultimately worth. They got chewed up by my crossbows and pikes and junk. And yeah, well, this just kind of carries on relatively even. I have like 3/4 of the stuff that's alive at one point. He cuts me down a bit, I cut him down a bit, and yeah, it's also just his ratio grows as he makes more stuff, but you can see here where it's really, his military drops from like 20 to 4, and mine drops from 55 to 17. That's a loss I can afford to take a lot better. He just never really recovers from there. Just look at the line balanced against that again. I'm just more populous all the way to the end, and my military just gets goddamn gigantic and he can't resist. And yeah, here's the scores. We can tab into what each one means. KD ratio, he won, but of course, yeah, that's kind of to be expected in a knight faction against Italians. That, yeah, I use kind of cheap specialist infantry and he uses big heavy bruiser units. He's going to kill more. 168 to 120. We give him that. And raisings, though, I won. That's buildings taken down. Conversions, that's a funny thing you can do. Your monk can flip the allegiance of units and steal them from the other side. I made one monk you may have seen. He was going around just grabbing relics and taking them to the church. How that works is, yeah, monks randomly across the world, I was actually looking for them at one point. I did have them in mind. Relics spawn, which monks can pick up your conversion and healer unit. Monks also pick up relics, and what you do with a relic is if you take it into your monk spawning building, it starts generating gold passively. So that was free gold that I had coming in after a certain point in the game because I remembered to grab these things and he didn't. So that was the one use of monks I made. And here's the other interesting statistic here. Army high. How many units did we have at once? My peak was 86. His was 28. I was very much the... yeah, I was using a lot of stuff and he was, yeah, quantity and quality. And yeah, here's just our military population lines on their own. You can see I had an absolute stack all game, and at the biggest point where I take military losses, so does he. And yeah, in terms of value, I'm doing better than him, I think. Wait, this is, oh yeah, this is numbers, not cash value. And I think if I paid for the other version of Capture Age, which I won't, we could see value and resources of military over time. But we won't. Sorry if this part is boring, just click off if you're not into this. But yeah, just, again, resources collected. He was winning on that too. Maybe if he just made more stuff and kept making consistently, he could have had more stuff to bring to bear at key moments. Maybe that could have swung some things. I don't know. You can see just all resources collected. Not a really impressive difference, but he has a bit more all game, probably because he spawned a bit better. He had easier access to things. I had to kind of branch out a fair bit to get stone and gold, even though I ended up with more stone and barely more gold. It was all in food and wood, apparently. I guess he just wanted that more for whatever reason. Not that it helped him. Technology, he was slightly quicker first tech up. I got the other two. And just nothing too interesting there. Villages, that's it. APM, we don't need to see that. Return to map. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I thought it was interesting, something different. Talking over Age of Empires is something I meant to do a long time ago, so I'm glad I finally got onto that. And yeah, I think it's just a pretty game that it's fun to mess with. I like how it looks, and yeah, I'd be interested in knowing what you guys thought of a video about Age of Empires. Again, if you want to see more of this or anything like this, I could do that, and if not, well, yeah, sorry, I'll go finish Halo soon. But yeah, here's a video for you. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. And yeah, I enjoyed this.